The year is 522 before the Common Era. The greatest empire the world has yet known stands on the brink of collapse. From the sun-scorched banks of the Nile to the high frozen passes of the Hindu Kush, the proud banners of the Achaemenid Persians still fly. Yet in the golden palaces of Pasargadae and Susa, a king has fallen without an heir, and from the endless northern horizon a storm gathers. This is not simply the story of Darius the Great's many victories. This is the story of how a new king secured his throne through decisive strength. This is the story of the Saka Rebellion, the Eastern Scythians who wore tall pointed caps and the day the empire restored order on its restless frontier. To understand those events, we must first meet the man at their center. Darius was not born to the throne. He was a young noble, a spear-bearer in the royal guard, barely 30 when Phaetor's ruthless calculation opened the path to power. Cambyses II, son of the empire founder Cyrus the Great, had died far away in Egypt under mysterious circumstances. Into that sudden void stepped a Magian priest called Gomata, claiming to be Berdia, Cambyses' younger brother. For 7 months he ruled, easing taxes and winning loyalty. On the 29th of September 522 BC, Darius and 6 trusted companions stormed a fortress in Media. Gomata fell beneath Persian blades. Darius declared himself King of Kings. The empire did not immediately bow. From Elam in the south to Babylon in the west, from Parthia to Margiana, provinces rose in revolt. 9 pretenders in a single year called themselves kings. Darius carved his answer on the cliff of Behistun, a towering monument proclaiming how, by the favor of the god Ahura Mazda, he crushed every liar who dared defy the true royal line. Among those 9 was a leader who struck particular fear into Persian hearts, Skunka, king of the Sokt Tigrasad, the Saka who wear the pointed caps. These were the eastern cousins of the fierce horse nomads of the European steppe. Tattooed warriors who lived beyond the Oxus River where the grasslands stretch without end. When chaos gripped the empire, Skunka saw opportunity. He raised his standard and declared independence. Darius could not allow even the smallest crack in his dominion. He moved with the speed of lightning. While trusted generals put down fires in Babylon and Elam, Darius himself turned east. The royal road, Persia's miracle of stone and post stations, carried his commands faster than any army had ever marched. The 10,000 immortals, the empire's unbreakable core, advanced alongside levied spearmen from every satrapy, Medes in glittering scale armor, Indians with long bamboo bows, Egyptians wielding curved Koptish blades, Bactrian horsemen guiding armored camels. They crossed the Iranian plateau, passed through the narrow Caspian gates, and entered the windswept frontier where cities give way to endless grass. The Saka fought as only nomads can. No fixed towns to siege, no harvests to burn, only the horizon. They struck like ghosts at dawn, showered arrows from galloping ponies, then vanished into the haze. Supply wagons disappeared. Sentries were found at their posts with throats opened. For months, the campaign dragged on, testing even Persian discipline. Darius's own words on the Behistun cliff admit the challenge. The host of the Saka was numerous. Yet by the favor of Ahura Mazda, I smote them exceedingly. The decisive clash came in the winter of 521 to 520 BC. Somewhere in the broad valleys north of modern Tashkent or Samarkand, history has not kept the exact field. On frozen ground, the Saka lines finally wavered. Their king Skunka was dragged from his horse, his tall golden-pointed cap crushed beneath Persian hooves. The rebellion was broken. Thousands of Saka warriors, elite nobles in gold torques, master archers whose composite bows had terrorized generations, laid down their weapons. They were bound in long columns and marched south under guard, across the Oxus, through the snows of Bactria, toward the heartland of the empire. Their fate had already been decided. Ancient sources speak plainly of stern royal justice. The Behistun inscription records that rebel leaders were brought in chains before the king. Some were executed as examples. Others lost noses, ears, or eyes, marks of defeat that left them alive but forever humbled. Skunka himself was led to the great cliff where Darius's monument was rising. There, the victorious king ordered the captive portrayed at the end of the line of defeated pretenders, hands tied. Rope around his neck, tall pointed cap unmistakable beneath the winged disc of Ahura Mazda. The message carved in stone for eternity was simple. This is Skunka the Saka. He lied, saying, I am king in my land. By the grace of Ahura Mazda, I bound him and made him my subject. Now, it's important to note, no reliable ancient record speaks of 5,000 or 6,000 prisoners penned in a single arena and cut down in one afternoon. The Behistun text, Darius's own voice, records victory, capture, and the imposition of royal authority, not wholesale extermination of an entire noble caste. Persian kings preferred living subjects who paid tribute. Dead men yield no taxes and breed only vengeance. Yet the eastern frontier fell silent for generations. The pointed cap Saka appear again on later reliefs at Persepolis, not as enemies, but as loyal delegations bearing gifts to the King of Kings. Order had been restored, the empire's boundaries secured. Some modern voices have drawn parallels between the stern suppression of rebellion and later tragedies, calling it an ancient Jallianwala Bagh. Both involved authority determined to prevent dissent from spreading, and both left deep scars on collective memory. Yet history must rest on what the sources actually say, not on later echoes. Darius never expressed regret. To him, every victory was proof that Ahura Mazda had chosen the right man to rule the world. The steppe, however, has a longer memory than any palace. Long after the marble of Persepolis cracked and fell, long after Alexander's Greeks rode east and the last Achaemenid banner was furled, nomad singers still told tales around campfires of the winter the Persians came. Of proud warriors who rode north as free men and returned south in chains, of a king named Skunka who stood tall even in defeat. They sang of a people who bent but never broke. Darius the Great built roads that crossed continents. He raised palaces whose columns touched the sky. He bound an empire from India to the Aegean with law and fear and gold. But out on the endless grass beneath wheels of stars that have turned for 2.5 millennia, the wind still carries the faint echo of hoofbeats, ghost riders who remind every empire that some horizons can be reached yet never truly tamed. The King of Kings is dust. The steppe endures. If these lost chapters of the past, the rebellions crushed the borders drawn in fire and decreed the truths carved in stone by victors. Move you, then subscribe. Now turn on notifications and walk with me deeper into the shadows of history. The ancient world is far darker and far more fascinating than schoolbooks ever admit. See you beneath the next forgotten monument.